Admiral James Reed stood at the window of his office aboard the UESS Defender, his weathered face reflecting in the reinforced glass. The stars beyond seemed dimmer today as he remembered the events from 50 years ago. He was just a young lieutenant then, fresh out of the academy, when humanity's world changed forever. The aliens had arrived on a quiet Tuesday morning. Their ships appeared suddenly, materializing just beyond the moon's orbit. There were 12 of them, each larger than anything humans had ever built. They were beautiful in a terrifying way, sleek vessels that gleamed like polished silver under the sun's rays. Earth's government scrambled to respond. Military forces worldwide went on high alert, but what good would their weapons do against beings capable of crossing the stars? The United Nations hastily convened an emergency session, while civilian populations panicked. Some celebrated, others hid, and many prayed. The aliens called themselves the Stellar Confederation. Their message was simple: Earth now belonged to them. They didn't bother with diplomatic niceties or peaceful overtures. Their leader, Supreme Commander Bright Eye, spoke to Earth's assembled leaders through a holographic projection that filled the skies of every major city. "Your planet has resources we require," the alien had said, its translated voice eerily smooth and emotionless. "You have two options: serve us and live, or resist and perish. You have one planetary rotation to decide." Reed remembered how his commanding officer, Admiral Thompson, had looked during the emergency meeting that followed. The old man's face was red with anger, but his words were measured. "We can't fight them. Not yet. But by God, we can make them regret this one day." Earth's leaders made the only choice they could. They agreed to the Confederation's terms. The aliens established their presence quickly, setting up bases on the Moon and Mars. They demanded regular shipments of minerals, water, and biological samples. Their requirements were strict, their punishments for failing to meet quotas severe. But humans are clever creatures. Even as they bowed their heads and worked in the aliens' minds, they watched. They learned. Every interaction with the Confederation's technology was analyzed. Every scrap of data was collected and studied. The aliens, in their arrogance, didn't bother hiding much of their advanced technology. Why should they? These primitive humans couldn't possibly understand it, let alone replicate it. Reed smiled at the memory of what happened next. Scientists working in hidden facilities began to make breakthroughs. Engineers found ways to improve upon the aliens' designs. The Confederation's greatest mistake was assuming that humans would remain stagnant, accepting their role as servants. Lieutenant Reed, Admiral Thompson, had told him one night, 6 months after the aliens arrived, "I'm putting you on a special project. Official records will show you've been assigned to oversee mining operations in Australia. The reality is something very different." That was how Reed learned about Project Silent Thunder. Deep beneath the ice of Europa, hidden in the asteroid belts, and in secret facilities across Earth, humanity was preparing. The Confederation received their shipments of raw minerals, never realizing that the best materials were being secretly diverted to build something unprecedented. Now, 50 years later, Admiral Reed touched the cold glass of his window. Behind him, on his desk, a report showed the latest intelligence. The Confederation was planning to increase their demands again. They were running low on easily accessible resources and planned to begin more aggressive extraction methods. Reed picked up his secure communicator. It was time. Humanity had been patient, learning and building in secret for 5 decades. The Confederation thought they were dealing with simple servants, a primitive species useful only for manual labor. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "This is Admiral Reed." He spoke into the communicator. "Begin Phase 1 of Operation Silent Thunder. It's time to show them what humanity can really do." Deep within Europa's icy crust, Mark Wilson walked through a massive underground hangar. His footsteps echoed off the walls as he made his final inspection. Above him, a warship hung suspended in the construction bay, the newest addition to humanity's secret fleet. The vessel was beautiful. Unlike the smooth, silver ships of the Confederation, This one was darker, more angular, built for both power and stealth. Its hull was covered in panels that could absorb or deflect most scanning methods, a technology reverse-engineered from a damaged alien scout ship 5 years ago. Status report. Mark called out to his team. As chief engineer of Facility E7, he was responsible for making sure every ship met the exact specifications Admiral Reed had ordered. "All systems are green," replied Jack, his assistant. "The quantum drive is running at 115% of Confederation standard. Weapons systems are masked. From the outside, it looks just like another ice mining platform." That was the clever part. Every secret shipyard was disguised as something the Confederation already expected to see. The facility in the asteroid belt looked like a mineral processing station. The underwater bases on Europa appeared to be ice mining operations. Even the hidden factories on Earth were buried under legitimate mining sites. The Confederation's own greed worked against them. They were so focused on extracting resources that they never looked too closely at how humans were using their primitive technology. They didn't notice that each mining operation produced a little less than it should, or that some of Earth's best mines had mysteriously been reassigned to basic resource extraction. Mark checked his tablet, reviewing the ship's specifications one last time. The vessel before him, designated Thunder 217, was part of humanity's new Stormbreaker class. It carried weapons that the Confederation thought impossible for humans to develop. Their own scans would show it as a simple transport vessel, right until the moment it opened fire. "Sir," Jack called out, "Admiral Reed is asking for an update on the fleet numbers." Mark nodded and pulled up the classified report. In the past 50 years, humanity had built over 3,000 warships. Each one was hidden away in facilities like this, waiting for the right moment. The aliens had no idea that their seemingly docile servants had created a force that could challenge their dominion. But ships weren't humanity's only secret. Mark walked over to a sealed chamber at the far end of the hangar. Inside, rows of quantum computers processed combat simulations day and night. They had learned to predict Confederation tactics, finding weaknesses in their supposedly superior technology. "Their shields have a fluctuation pattern," he explained to a group of new engineers. "Every 7 seconds, there's a microsecond delay in their energy distribution. Our weapons are designed to exploit that gap. They think their defense systems are perfect, but nothing is perfect." The humans had discovered something else too. The Confederation's technology, while advanced, had stagnated. They hadn't faced a real challenge in centuries. Their ships all followed the same basic designs, used the same predictable tactics. Mark's communicator buzzed. It was a message from Admiral Reed. "Operation Silent Thunder is beginning. Prepare all ships for deployment." A smile crossed Mark's face as he gave the order to power up Thunder 217. Around him, the hidden facility hummed to life. Similar scenes were playing out across the solar system as humanity's secret fleet prepared to reveal itself. 50 years, he said quietly, watching as the massive hangar doors began to open. 50 years of waiting, watching, and building in secret. Now they'll learn that humanity is nobody's servant. The ship's engines glowed bright blue as it lifted off its construction platform. Soon, the Confederation would see exactly what humans could achieve when pushed too far. They were about to learn that sometimes the most dangerous weapon isn't the biggest ship or the strongest shield. Sometimes it's patience. Tom Walker had seen enough. As a maintenance worker in one of the Confederation's main processing facilities, he had access to areas most humans never saw. What he discovered today made his blood run cold. He stood in a hidden corner of the facility's central data hub, his hand shaking as he copied the alien files. The Confederation wasn't just planning to take more resources, they were planning to destroy Earth entirely. The files showed their true intention. A massive fleet of strip mining ships was heading toward Earth. These weren't normal mining vessels. They were planet crackers, designed to break apart entire worlds for their resources. Earth was to be torn apart piece by piece, its population relocated to work camps on other mining worlds. "Hey, you," a harsh voice called out. "What are you doing here?" Tom turned to see one of the alien overseers, its tall frame blocking the doorway. The creature's 4 eyes narrowed with suspicion. "Just cleaning the data terminal, sir," Tom replied, keeping his voice steady despite his racing heart. He held up his cleaning tool, thanking his luck that he brought it as cover. The alien studied him for a moment, then waved him away. "Finish quickly and leave. This area is restricted." Tom nodded and pretended to wipe down a few more terminals before leaving. The stolen data felt like it was burning a hole in his pocket. He had to get this information to the Resistance immediately. Hours later, in a secure underground room beneath an old factory, Tom showed the files to his Resistance contact. The woman, known only as Kate, was one of the direct links to Admiral Reed's command. "They're not even trying to hide it anymore," Kate said, her face grim as she reviewed the plans. "They think we're too stupid to understand their data, too weak to stop them." She activated a secure communication channel to the Admiral's office. Within minutes, Reed's face appeared on their screen, looking older and more tired than his public appearances. "Sir," Kate reported, "we have confirmation. The strip mining fleet is real. They'll be here in less than a month." Reed was silent for a long moment. "How many ships?" "Over 500, sir, each one capable of tearing chunks out of our planet." Tom watched as something changed in the Admiral's expression. The weariness vanished, replaced by a steel-hard resolve. "They've finally shown their true face," Reed said. "For 50 years, we've watched them strip our resources, treat us like animals. Now they want to destroy our home." He straightened in his chair. "We've waited long enough. Send the activation code to all hidden bases. Operation Silent Thunder begins now." Across Earth and throughout the solar system, hidden facilities received the code. Massive doors opened in asteroids, revealing ship after ship. Under the ice of Europa, vast hangars powered up their launch systems. In deep underwater bases, humanity's secret fleet prepared to rise. Tom felt the ground shake as the factory above them began to transform. What the Confederation thought was a simple manufacturing plant was actually a disguised launch facility. "What can I do to help?" he asked Kate as she prepared to leave for her battle station. She handed him an access card. "Get to Bunker 7. You've proven yourself trustworthy, and we need every skilled person we can get. It's time to show these aliens that humanity isn't as helpless as they think." As Tom rushed through the underground tunnels toward his assigned post, he could hear the deep rumble of engines starting up. Somewhere above, humanity's real fleet was preparing to reveal itself. The Confederation thought they knew everything about Earth's capabilities. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The breaking point had finally come, and humanity was ready. High Marshal Vale of the Stellar Confederation stood on the bridge of his command ship, watching Earth grow larger on the main display. Behind his vessel, 500 strip mining ships moved in perfect formation. Each one was the size of a small city, built to tear apart planets with brutal efficiency. "Status report," he commanded, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence. "All ships in position, High Marshal," his second-in-command reported. "Earth's defensive fleet remains in their designated areas. Only their outdated vessels are visible, just as usual." Vale made a dismissive gesture. "Have they even noticed our strip mining fleet? They've sent several messages asking about our intentions. Their leaders seem concerned." "As they should be," Vale replied. "Send them the evacuation order. Tell them they have 48 hours to begin moving their population to our designated facilities. Any resistance will be met with immediate destruction." Suddenly, one of his sensor operators called out in alarm. "High Marshal, multiple anomalies detected." Vale turned toward the display. "What kind of anomalies?" "Energy signatures, sir. They're coming from everywhere. The asteroid belt, Europa, Earth's oceans, even some of their mining facilities." Before Vale could respond, space itself seemed to come alive. Hidden doors opened in asteroids that his ships had passed by for decades. Massive sections of Europa's ice sheet slid apart, revealing vast hangar bays. The oceans of Earth churned as huge shapes rose from the depths. Impossible, Vale whispered as he watched humanity's real fleet emerge. Ships, thousands of them. Not the primitive vessels the Confederation had allowed Earth to maintain, but advanced warships that rivaled or exceeded his own fleet's capabilities. Their hulls were dark and angular, built for war rather than show. Energy readings from their weapon systems were off the charts. This cannot be. Vale's second-in-command stammered. They're primitives. They barely understood space travel when we arrived. On Vale's main screen, a familiar face appeared. Admiral Reed of Earth's supposedly weak defense force sat in a command chair that looked far more advanced than anything the Confederation had seen from humans before. High Marshal Vale, Reed spoke calmly. I believe it's time we renegotiated the terms of our relationship. Vale fought to keep his voice steady. These ships, you couldn't have built them. It's impossible. Impossible. Reed smiled. You gave us 50 years to watch and learn. Did you think we were just accepting our fate? Every time you showed off your technology, we were studying it. Every time you demanded more resources, we were secretly building something better. Around Vale's fleet, more and more human ships appeared. They moved with precision that spoke of long training and preparation. His tactical display showed their weapons were powered up, but not yet targeting his ships. Your fleet is impressive, Admiral, Vale said, trying to regain control of the situation. But do not forget who you're dealing with. The Confederation. The Confederation. Reed interrupted, made 3 crucial mistakes. First, you underestimated us. Second, you taught us your technology while believing we could never understand it. And third, he leaned forward in his chair. You threatened our home. Vale watched in horror as his tactical display updated. The human ships weren't just matching his fleet in numbers. They outnumbered it. And their weapons, the energy readings suggested capabilities far beyond what should have been possible. So, Reed continued, here's what's going to happen. Your strip mining fleet will turn around and leave. Then we'll discuss new terms, as equals this time. Or, he let the word hang in the air. For the first time in his long career, High Marshal Vale felt real fear. He looked at the vast human fleet surrounding his ships and finally understood the terrible mistake the Confederation had made. They had given humanity time to prepare. And humanity had used that time well. The first shot wasn't fired by either fleet. Instead, it came from Jupiter's orbit, a massive electromagnetic pulse that disabled the engines of 3 Confederation strip mining ships. No one had even noticed the weapon platforms humanity had hidden in the gas giant's storms. Target their command ship, Admiral Reed ordered from his position on the UEF's Defender. Show them what we've learned. The human fleet moved with deadly precision. 50 years of secret training showed in every maneuver. Ships that the Confederation thought were simple mining vessels suddenly revealed weapon systems that shouldn't have existed. High Marshal Vale watched in horror as his supposedly superior fleet struggled to respond. Return fire, he commanded. Show these primitives the power of the Confederation. But something was wrong. His ship's energy weapons seemed to pass right through the human vessels, while their physical projectiles were caught in gravitational fields that shouldn't have been possible with Earth's technology level. Sir, his weapons officer called out. They're shields. They're operating on a completely different frequency than our targeting systems. We can't get a lock. Vale suddenly understood. The humans hadn't just copied Confederation technology. They had improved it. While his people had grown comfortable with their superiority, humanity had been innovating, finding new ways to use the same basic principles. On the Defender's bridge, Kate worked at her tactical station, coordinating with Tom, who was now running support systems. Admiral, she reported, the enemy fleet is trying to regroup near Mars orbit. Their shields are adjusting to our first attack pattern. Reed nodded. Then it's time for pattern 2. Signal the Europa squadrons. From behind Mars, a new wave of human ships appeared. These were smaller and faster, designed specifically to exploit the weak points in Confederation shield systems. They darted between the larger alien vessels, their weapons targeting precise points where the enemy's energy fields overlapped. Impossible. Vale slammed his fist on his command console. How do they know the harmonic frequencies of our shield matrices? The answer was simple. Humans had spent 50 years studying every detail of Confederation technology. Each time an alien ship visited Earth, hidden sensors recorded its energy signatures. Every scrap of data was analyzed, every pattern studied. The battle spread across the solar system. Human ships seemed to appear from nowhere, striking from hidden bases in asteroids, beneath planetary surfaces, and from carefully concealed orbital positions. Each group demonstrated capabilities that the Confederation had thought beyond Earth's reach. "Hi, Marshal." Reed's voice came over the command channel again. "Your strip mining fleet is reduced to 30% strength. Your escorts are disabled or retreating. Would you like to discuss surrender terms?" Vale watched another group of his ships go dark as specialized human EMP weapons overloaded their systems. His mighty fleet, meant to tear apart an entire planet, was being systematically taken apart by the very people he considered primitive. "How?" he demanded. "How did you build all this without us knowing?" Reed's response was calm. "We learned from you. Every time you showed off your superior technology, we were watching. Every time you treated us like simple laborers, we were planning. You gave us the greatest gift any opponent could offer. You underestimated us." A massive explosion lit up space as one of the largest strip mining ships was caught between 3 human attack squadrons. Its shields failed under the precisely coordinated assault, and its hull cracked open like an egg. "Your next action determines the future of both our peoples," Reed continued. "Choose wisely, High Marshal." Vale looked at his tactical display one last time. His mighty fleet was in ruins, surrounded by human ships that seemed to appear from every shadow of space. The Confederation had come to strip Earth bare, but instead had found something far different than the primitive world they thought they knew. They had found humanity's true strength. High Marshal Vale stood in the conference room of the UESS Defender, his once pristine uniform showing signs of battle damage. Through the room's large window, he could see the remains of his strip mining fleet, scattered across space, surrounded by the seemingly endless array of human warships. "The terms are simple," Admiral Reed said, placing a data tablet on the table between them. "Earth is now a sovereign power. All Confederation forces will withdraw from our solar system immediately." Vale's secondary eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of distress in his species. "The Confederation Council will never agree to this. We do not negotiate with primitives." Tom stepped forward from his position near the door. "Look outside, Marshal. Your fleet is in pieces. And this," he gestured to the space around them, "this is just what we built in one solar system, while pretending to be harmless servants." The implications weren't lost on Vale. If humanity could build this much in secret, under constant surveillance, what could they do now that they didn't have to hide? "We're transmitting our message to your council now," Kate reported from her communication station. "And not just to them. Every species in the Confederation will see what happened here today." On screens around the room, Reed's recorded message began playing. It would soon reach every corner of Confederation space. "For 50 years, you treated humanity as primitive servants. Today that ends. We have demonstrated our capabilities. Any further aggression against Earth will be met with the full force of our fleet." The message continued, showing carefully selected footage from the battle. The Confederation's mighty ships falling to human weapons, their supposedly impenetrable shields failing against precisely targeted attacks. Their stripped mining fleet being systematically dismantled by vessels that seemed to appear from nowhere. "Impossible," Vale whispered, watching the footage. "Our best analysts, our surveillance. How did we miss all of this?" You saw what you expected to see, Reed replied. We showed you outdated ships, let you think we were struggling with basic spaceflight, all while we studied your every move, your every technology. Through the window, a new group of human ships decloaked. These were different from the others, larger, more obviously built for deep space travel. Those, Reed said, noting Vale's attention, are our long-range vessels, already crewed and ready to launch. The Confederation isn't the only power in space anymore. Vale finally understood the full scope of what had happened. Earth hadn't just defended itself. It had emerged as a fully fledged space power in a single day. The balance of power that had existed for centuries was changed forever. Your council has 3 standard days to respond, Reed continued. If they accept our terms, we can begin a new relationship, as equals this time. If they refuse, he let the threat hang unspoken in the air. And what's to stop us from returning with an even larger fleet? Vale asked, making one last attempt at defiance. Tom laughed. You still don't understand, do you? Everything you saw today. That was just what we built while under your watch. Imagine what we can build now that we don't have to hide. And remember, Kate added, we've had 50 years to study your technology, your tactics, your weaknesses. How many of our improvements do you think we've shared today? Vale looked out at the human fleet one last time. He thought about how thoroughly they had hidden their true capabilities, how completely they had mastered and improved upon Confederation technology. The choice was clear. I will convey your terms to the Council, he said finally. But know this, you've changed everything today. Admiral Reed smiled. That, High Marshal, was exactly the point. 10 years after the Battle of Seoul, Admiral Reed stood in front of a classroom at the newly established Earth Space Academy. The room was filled with an unusual mix of students. Young humans sat alongside aliens from various Confederation species, all eager to learn from the man who had changed the balance of power in the galaxy. Can anyone tell me, Reed asked, looking at the diverse faces before him, why the Confederation lost that day? A young alien student raised 3 of his 4 hands. Because humans had better ships. Not quite. Reed smiled. Our technology was advanced, yes, but that wasn't the main reason. From the back of the room, Tom Walker spoke up. Now serving as the Academy's head of security operations, he still liked to sit in on Reed's lectures. We won because they underestimated us. They saw what they expected to see. Exactly. Reed touched a control panel, and a hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed the human fleet emerging from its hidden bases, a moment now famous throughout the galaxy. The Confederation's greatest weakness wasn't their technology or their tactics. It was their mindset. The students watched as the historic battle played out in miniature before them. Even after 10 years, it was still impressive to see how thoroughly humanity had prepared for that day. But, sir, another student asked, why reveal everything at once? Why not keep some ships hidden? Kate, who had become Earth's chief diplomatic officer, stepped into the room. Because we needed to change more than just who controlled Earth. We needed to change how the galaxy thought about humanity and about themselves. The changes had been dramatic. The Confederation, faced with irrefutable proof of their own complacency, had been forced to evolve. The old hierarchy of species was replaced by a more equal alliance. Earth's example had shown that any species could advance beyond their apparent limitations. Look around this room, Reed continued. 10 years ago, this would have been impossible. Humans teaching advanced space combat tactics to Confederation youth. The very idea would have seemed absurd. Through the classroom's window, they could see Earth's orbital shipyards. New vessels were under construction, but these weren't built in secret. Some were joint projects between human and alien engineers, combining the best innovations of both cultures. The real victory, Tom added, wasn't just defeating their fleet. It was proving that no species has a monopoly on progress. Everyone can innovate, everyone can improve. The lesson was interrupted by a priority message. Kate checked her communicator and smiled. The exploration fleet has returned from their deep space mission. The Joint Human Confederation crew has discovered 3 new potentially habitable worlds. Reed nodded with satisfaction. The exploration fleet was perhaps the greatest symbol of how things had changed. Ships that combined human ingenuity with Confederation experience, crewed by members of all species, pushing the boundaries of known space together. Remember this, Reed told his students as the class ended. The universe is too vast for any one species to claim superiority. The Confederation thought they had reached the peak of achievement, that no one could surprise them anymore. They were wrong. As the students filed out, Reed looked at the hologram one last time. The image shifted to show the present day, Earth's orbital space bustling with ships of all designs, human and alien vessels working together in harmony. "Did you ever think we'd see this?" Tom asked quietly. "Honestly, no," Reed admitted. "When we were building our fleet in secret, I thought the best we could hope for was independence. Instead, we achieved something far better. We achieved respect," Kate added, "and showed the galaxy that sometimes the best teacher is the student who refuses to accept their limitations." Outside, a new class of ships prepared for their maiden voyage. Their crews were mixed, human and alien working side by side. On their hulls, a new symbol, not the mark of Earth or the Confederation, but a combined emblem representing all spacefaring species. The stars waited, and this time, humanity wouldn't face them alone.